If you're a seller on Shopify, if you're a merchant on Shopify, you sell e-commerce and you use Shopify, then let me tell you about an app that you absolutely need to use. It's called AfterSell. It's the fastest growing upsell app on Shopify, and it helps you do a few different things. It helps you with post-purchase upsells. It helps you with editing your checkout and also just building an optimized cart drawer. This helps you get higher AOVs, higher UPTs, and cross-sell your products based on what your customers are shopping for. If you have someone buying a backpack on your site and you also sell luggage, you can use AfterSell to cross-sell luggage or vice versa. It's used by over 25,000 brands, including Jones Road, Hexclad, Skims, True Classic, and more. And on average, their clients see an AOV boost of up to 30%. On top of that, from your order confirmation page, you can generate revenue with AfterSell's network offers. If you want to get a demo of AfterSell, go to aftersell.com/limited. Sign up now and get AfterSell free for 60 days for limited supply listeners. Again, that's aftersell.com/limited. All right, guys, we're back. We're with Jason Panzer and Danny Weiner. And honestly, whenever I think of you guys more like uncles versus just clients or other executives, which might be weird to hear, but you guys are like a perfect example of the good guys win at the end. And, most clients aren't as nice or as respectful as you guys. So I always think of you guys as uncles.
Well, Danny happens to be the world's best uncle. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I'm not a very good uncle, but I'm a good dad.
He's the world's best dad.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually am a little offended because now you make me feel old. I wanted to say,
not at all.
I want you to call us
uncle.
Big brothers.
Yeah, Big Brother is probably actually a better way to
Christ.
think.
For the love of Christ.
Well, I mean, Nick does play like he's younger than we think. So that's
I know he is. He's an old soul.
Old soul, yeah, young body. You guys are the opposite. Awesome. Well, I think Hexclad, like off the bat, does some of the best job in any industry in terms of product innovation. I'm curious how you guys think about product innovation or bringing products to market, and then we could go from there. Like, how do you see product innovation happening? How do you think about product innovation? What do you think sets you guys apart when you think about product innovation? And even think about the things that you might think are obvious, because the things you guys think are obvious are probably novice or novel to anybody else listening.
It's actually a good question. Never got that one before.
Yeah, well, it's also interesting because right before we hit record, you're talking about buying prices of steel and where you're going to manufacture. And I feel like I don't talk to anybody, any founders or maybe even sometimes clients who think like that or are talking in that way. I've never seen a CEO be so dialed in on the product side.
Well, that was both out of something that I was interested in, product development, but also out of necessity. When you're a bootstrapped startup, you're doing everything. And you either do it properly or you half-ass it. And Cole, my co-founder, we tried to do everything within our power properly. And when we didn't know something, we'd either table it or we'd try to find a smart person, smarter than us to handle that for us. Very often you go like, I hear people say, are you a product or are you a brand? And almost like there is something wrong with just being one or the other. There are brands, there are products. We're both in a way. We have an amazing product, which we've also built an amazing brand around. I think you start with, what are you trying to accomplish? Like for us, go back to 15 and 16, what we were trying to accomplish. We weren't just trying to get rich quick. That was key. We wanted to bring a product to market that we were really proud of. We wanted to bring a product to market that people could enjoy for a lifetime. Like I didn't have interest in bringing out some frying pan that only lasted you 1 or 2 years. And, I can look at you and go, oh, I got you. I got your money. You go, you fucked up. You trusted us, So we were always about bringing quality. And as you asked the question about products, the goal was, can we bring completely innovative products to a kind of tired category? And in the rare chance we can't bring true innovation, then we want to bring something of excellent quality, but it's sexy as hell. So it just looks great in your kitchen. If we can't make it better than what exists, it's going to be as good as the best out there, but it's going to look better. So between those two goals, we were able to serve this suite of amazing kitchenware products. And the cool thing about it is we celebrate with food. And it's such an integral part of our lives that this was a cool space for us to want to participate in, because you're celebrating the birth of a baby with food, right? You celebrate high school graduation with food, a wedding with food. You mourn the death of a loved one with food. That we get to play a kind of cool role in that. That was just like icing on the cake.
And one thing to add on the product development side, and I watched Danny do this, and I participate a little bit, but it's really much more he than I, is like the meticulous nature of like not just pushing it out if it's not ready. And it's funny because we're pretty fast and loose about a lot of things at the company. Like Danny and I both ascribe separately to this, like the rules don't apply to us. Like the rules don't apply to Hexclad. I always used to say the rules don't apply to me. But I remember when we're launching some of our new pieces when I was really at the company for like a year, because there was a time where it was really just the frying pans for a while. And then it was getting the saucepans right, getting the pots right. And then there were a couple of other small products like the bigger wok and a griddle. But the catalog was pretty bare when I came on board. And we then started ramping it up. But seeing Danny be just dissatisfied with iteration and iteration, sample after sample, and saying, no, we're not going to do it. And we definitely could have cut corners on a lot of those things. So it's not so much of being like the greatest mind in product development, although like we know what works for the kitchen because Danny has a ton of experience, as do a lot of other people at the company, but not pushing things out too fast. And we had an experience with one piece actually that we did that, and it was like we just pulled it. We relaunched it again. I won't name it, but we relaunched it again, and it's doing really, really well because we knew it would do well, and we did kind of rush it out like the one time, and that was the only time we've ever done it. And now I've seen it even with the very original frying pan. Danny probably spent a year and a half or more. Could have probably taken something to market sooner, but so we do try to be pretty rigorous about that, and we've got a couple of big drops that will come in the next year, and we honestly don't know when because we're just not going to drop it until it's ready. And these are big category openers for us. So that meticulous nature is, I think, something that people don't really think about.
I'm glad you brought that up because that does say a lot about us, like what we believe in, because that piece that Jason spoke about, I am pretty sure we could have gone to market with it and nobody would have known. And it was something minor, but it was a manufacturing problem. And we'd already run a pre-sale for it. And we're getting ready to ship them and we missed something. And like I said, I bet you we could have shipped the 1,000 or 2,000 that were sold, and maybe one person might have said something because it still worked great. In fact, we all took them home. But what we said was, you know what? Forget it. Let's refund everybody's money. Tell them we ran into a snafu. It's coming. We're going to notify you. And we went back to the drawing board, fixed that one little thing. It was really cosmetic. It wasn't functional.
And we basically ate a 40-foot container of cookware, maybe two. Like that's actually real money. Yep. But it was just, we could have sold it, but this is not the way we're going to run this business.
Yeah. I remember about 10 years ago, my first job was basically selling advertising as a service. Like I remember selling to Hakkasan and saying, guys, I know exactly which cohorts of people just bought a flight ticket because I can see that on Facebook. I know who's browsing travel websites, who's about to fly. I can see whose birthdays are coming up. And I remember thinking it gave me such a big leg up or an advantage to know everything about Facebook's targeting capabilities when I was selling the product versus everybody else who was selling could just tell you they're going to buy Facebook ads, but they couldn't speak in great detail. And when I think of Hexclad's product innovation, I feel like you guys fully understand the extent of what's possible, which is how you're able to make such innovative cookware products for the kitchen, whether it's the pans, whether it's the pepper and salt mill, whether it's the cutting boards, whether it's the aprons, whether it's the knives. Like, how did you guys get the experience, or do you use outside consultants around product innovation, or how do you drop something that is so innovative every time? It's different in its own way, but does the job as it should, and it's not backed by, I mean, you guys aren't necessarily going out and asking customers every time, like, hey, what should we launch next? Because also they wouldn't give you those innovative ideas because they don't know the extent of what's possible.
We don't use any outside consultants or to do any of this. We do it all in-house. One, we listen to the consumers, and you have an advantage. Like, part of like when I decided I wanted to start my own company, one of the main things was the company I was at didn't believe in community. And that was like, everybody's heard me, if they've ever heard me on a podcast, I talk about the guy I went with, showed him Facebook, and he's like, trust me, kid, this is never going to last. And we were like, we got to start our own business because we want to start a community. So the advantage of a community is you open a line of direct communication, right? So I can go on to, Facebook and see what people like, what they don't like, what they want. That's like a cheat code to market. There's less guesswork involved. Now, that's really easy with, say, adding new pieces of cookware. Now, when we do something else like the pepper mill and the hex mills, then it comes to like usually me going, God damn it, I can't find a good pepper mill. And then we start talking, should we do it? And then we're like, how are we going to make the best one ever? Now, you've used our pepper mill.
Yeah, they're weapons.
Yeah. They're great. They're the best on the market. And we've had the best chefs in the world telling us that. And I'm really proud of that because I just remember like going into a restaurant and watching them twist the wooden ones and nothing's coming out, or I'm getting giant chunks of pepper and pepper dust. And now I almost broke my teeth on a peppercorn in the salad. And so what we did was, we set the goal and reverse engineer the product based on what the final goal was. And it took us a long time. Took us a year and a half to make these pepper mills.
I don't know if you're comfortable sharing, but like, how much do you guys invest into product innovation? Like, even just, I'm sure there's ideas that you guys put together that maybe didn't hit the market.
So we have a team. It's not a huge team. It's a handful of people led by Danny. But certain things will, like if we work with manufacturers, we have a product sourcing and then we have product development. And it's like this, it's just this iterative process. So we probably only have a handful of FTEs working on it, but we've had a pretty good roadmap of pieces that we wanted to drop over time. And so we've just been ticking off pieces. And then the more innovative stuff requires more. Like I can't talk too much about it because it's just, there's a few big things coming down. But like, for example, there are certain things like we'll use an engineering firm. We'll go to them and be like, okay, this is like a real engineering feat that we're going to do here. So on that, and that's like, we're probably on that product with outside help with the engineering firm. We're probably in it for like $500K, but like nothing crazy.
And those two, like, are they solving one problem within the equation, or are they helping you solve the whole equation and you have different pieces solving the different little problems within a larger equation?
Nick, it's kind of hard to say because it really is SKU specific.
Yeah,
some are easier to solve.
Yeah.
New pieces of cookware, for example, actually for ours, they are more challenging than, say, a regular frying pan just because of the hexagon technology is very difficult. Like we could not get it to go at a 90-degree angle for a long time. That's why it took so long to get saucepans.
Right.
Because anyway, it was like we couldn't get it to work. Finally figured it out. But now it's so hard to make our pans, and where some people go, oh, well, they're expensive. We're like the other guys, but it's hard to make ours. When we start out making them, we have to throw away 17% on average.
Wow.
Till we perfect it. And that's okay because we have a very strict inspection process. And we're going to have to eat 17% till we get it down to where we really know how to do it. It's cost of doing business, but that's how you do it, where you don't go to market with something that's not quite ready or that isn't to the standard at which we want the product to perform.
Totally.
But I would say the simplest answer to your original question is like, what do you spend? We spend whatever we need to spend. And sometimes it's a little and sometimes it's a lot. But essentially, one, we don't build a product based on a price point. We're like, if it's a good enough product, it's going to cost us so much to make. And to be able to market it effectively, we need to charge X for it. And we feel if it's a good enough product, we can find a way to justify the cost to the consumer so they feel that they're getting a value. And that's actually something most companies don't do. Most companies, in fact, some people that we've hired from some other kitchenware companies, they're like, we have to hit a $3 target for that thing. There's no way, like that's it. And quality be damned, we never operate that way. And if it's too expensive for people, oh, well, it's going to be a niche product. And I'm just glad we accomplished making it.
Right.
You know?
It's $1 billion niche company. All right. So diving off community, one of your fans, followers, customers is Gordon Ramsay, who then ended up becoming a partner in the business. But in a very interesting way, like Hexclad has never felt transactional with Gordon Ramsay. It's always kind of felt like a very natural partnership, like whether it's the content he makes in the warehouse or the way he promotes it or uses it on his own social media or the assets that we end up using as ads or on landing pages. Like everything feels very real, authentic, and as if it's just, this entire thing was his idea. How do you guys think about positioning with Gordon more so than just the like leveraging him for sales, but like really the positioning of how does Hexclad sit in the market with Gordon at a store level, at a massive brand level, on a micro level?
Let me jump in real quick, and I'm sure Daniel will have a lot to add. We always thought Hexclad was a real company before Gordon. In fact, that's why we got Gordon, right? Like we weren't at 9 figures yet, but we were mid 8 figures, and we were making money because we were bootstrapped. And so we were able to tell a good story around that. But at the same time, it wasn't one of these creator-led brands or celebrity-led brands that launched it. So Hexclad was a real business, and that's why we got him. And we always wanted to maintain Hexclad as Hexclad, not as Gordon Ramsay Cookware. At the same time, we are very protective about Gordon, and Danny can get into that some more, but we don't want to have Gordon be a pitch man. We want him to be an authentic lover of the product, and I think that's the way it's worked out. And you see that whenever there's something cool going on, Gordon thinks about Hexclad. Gordon dropped on his YouTube and Instagram yesterday Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, this Deadpool thing, we just made some custom aprons for it because Gordon's team. It's not just Gordon's team is amazing and we get along with it. They're always thinking about us because we are very careful in how we use Gordon at Hexclad.
Yeah, I feel like most celebrity adjacent or celebrity attached brands, their whole strategy is like, all right, let's open the door for consumers using the celebrity. And then when they get here and they come inside, they'll see the efficacy of the product, which will then sell them. But with Hexclad, it's the opposite. It's like the product innovation and community open the door. And Gordon is just another proof point of, oh, if Gordon uses it, why wouldn't I use it?
That's a really good assessment of the way we do use Gordon. The key thing, too, is you look at these celebrity product relationships. And, there are people that do them a lot. Like, obviously the famous ones are Ryan Reynolds and George Clooney and Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard. But the fact is, those are celebrities who believe in a product, like the product. Gordon believes in our product, but he's also the greatest chef in the world. So, it's like Ryan Reynolds, who I think is fucking amazing as a businessman. He's not the world's best gin maker, or maybe he is, but, that's not really
it's not his brand.
The skill. That's not what he's about. Here we have the world's most important chef, a guy that's had 3 Michelin stars at his flagship restaurants for 23 years straight without ever losing a star.
Wow.
He's the governor, he's the man. And so now we got the best, early on, Jason was like, we got Michael Jordan. Yeah, we did get Michael Jordan. If we were a basketball company and we're like, we got Michael Jordan on board, that's what we got. And we got him not because he's like, give me $1 million and I'll film a commercial for you. And it was a simple transaction. He was like, in fact, when we got him on a Zoom call, Jason and I, during the pandemic, had our first Zoom call with him. And, you know, Gordon.
Did you tell him about your vodka shot that you took prior to the Zoom call?
It was Woodford Reserve, actually.
Okay.
I was a little nervous.
Just to calm the
it was
jitters.
8 a.m. I had a coffee, and then I saw the Woodford sitting there, and I just quickly threw a shot in the coffee.
Nice.
To calm, you know, like I was doing the call with the shirt, but I was in my boxers.
For sure.
And, you know, and we log on, it's just Gordon's face there. And he was like, I look at him, and he's like, Denny. I go, Gordon. And Gordon and I can both talk. So, like, the two of us just at each other. But we're on for like almost an hour and a half, about an hour and 20 minutes, and talking about everything we want to do together. And the first thing Gordon's like, he's like, I don't need the fucking money. He's like, I like the product. And I'm like, great. And he immediately was like, I'm going to put it on my shows. I'm going to cook in my restaurants with it. We're going to grow this into the biggest thing. And that's how he's always been, which is really, it's so like refreshing. Like people talk about it. Like whenever I've talked to anybody that has a celebrity partner, they have no interaction with them.
Yeah.
I mean,
And also, you typically are going through like an agency, whereas you guys just went direct.
yeah, it was just through an Instagram message. And then we started talking. And now, like, you know, I talk to Gordon probably once a week. And sometimes we just shoot the shit about life. And sometimes we talk about business and strategy and what we can do. And he'll be like, you know, I'm doing this. You know, I'm talking to F1 about an event to see how you guys are involved. And, you know, and it's good. And like, we're also tight with like Gordon's business manager. Like we go out for dinner, we have drinks, we drink wine with them. You know, his whole team is like,
They're in it.
We're kind of like a family. And I think that's really key because that became normal for us. So now anybody who comes on, like we have what we call our culinary council. And this was an idea we had early on. And like at first we didn't know what to call them. So we used to call them the Avengers, like a team of the greatest chefs in the world. And we're not quite done. But, you know, if you're a foodie, we have like the world's greatest all-star band. You know, Dominique Crenn, the most decorated female chef in the U.S., the only woman with 3 Michelin stars. Nancy Silverton from Mozza, famous, La Brea Bakery. She's one of our team. In Europe, Claire Smith, the only female chef with 3 Michelin stars. She's like a national treasure. Paul Ainsworth, who's got multiple shows in the UK, Michelin-starred. In Japan, the number 1 female chef in all of Asia, Natsuko Shoji. So we have this incredible team. And because of the relationship with Gordon, we treat them all like the same way. Like I'll call Dominique. I'm like, what are you doing? Let's grab lunch. You know, we'll have tequila soda lunch and let's talk about the future. I think that's kind of what makes us special because we treat everything like a family. Whether you're in the office with us, we treat you like family, or whether you're an influencer, an ambassador, we even our affiliates. We try to support them as much as we possibly can.
And you hit the nail on the head with the term transactional because you hear horror stories about celeb deals that are they're just super transactional and you kind of know it. And like we were very fortunate that the stars aligned for us with Gordon and we brought a great product to the table. And it wasn't like he was getting some Series C equity in something that may be worth something one day. It was like we're able to show him actually, you know, you're going to be making money the first day you set foot, you know, but the first day we're post to you. But we've seen it before. We've been pretty good at avoiding it, not always, but like that's the message. The transactional relationships, like they just don't work. And people, when we were starting the conversation with Gordon, some good friends of ours were like, hey, be really careful with these celeb deals. And we hired a really good law firm that did a lot of these things. And, you know, with my background and Danny's street smarts and business acumen, I think we caught a very, very good deal for us.
That's Jason saying, bring up the fact that I have a drama degree. I didn't go to business school.
He didn't go to business school, but he's pretty good with arithmetic.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were very careful on how we did it. And, you know, it worked out. But those transactional relationships, you can tell, like you got to figure out a way to get someone to be really bought in to the mission.
Have you ever wondered how brands like Jones Road and Hexclad are optimizing their customer journeys by increasing AOV and post-purchase upsells? Well, they all use AfterSell. AfterSell is used by over 25,000 brands and has been shown to boost your AOV by up to 30%. Not only that, but they also have a proprietary network offers feature that has generated tons of net revenue for brands like Perry Ellis, True Classic, and American Eagle. This allows you to drive sales on your own site and add additional revenue through showing ads in your post-purchase funnel. If you're interested to learn more, get a demo at aftersell.com/limited. Sign up now and get 60 days of AfterSell free for limited supply listeners. Once again, that's aftersell.com/limited. And then, like, how do you think about, so adjacently, like the Hailey Beiber deal with Kendall Jenner? Like that, I feel like was also somewhat organic because Hailey was using the product before. But then, like, how do you approach those differently, whether it's in terms of deliverables or the relationship or anything like that?
That one wound up feeling a little more transactional than I think we would have liked, if we're being totally honest. Yeah. But there was a lot of good. There was a ton of good that came out of it, but it was just different good in terms of, like you mentioned, this with Kendall and a lot of the people in like that universe using Hexclad, still posting Hexclad. It is great, and I think it was we talked to people and they're like, oh wow, you guys work with Hailey Beiber, that's great. So I think it's just a different approach to our overall like brand and what we're building.
And yeah, because that's key, because we get spoiled with Gordon, know, in the way it is, probably compared to most celebrity relationships. They would look at the Hailey Beiber one and go, oh, it's really organic, and it's not, boy, that's hardly transactional. And we're just so used to like Gordon being part of the company, and there was no equity deal or anything. We didn't do anything like that with Hailey. And she was just a fan of the products and used it. And maybe we sent it to her. We didn't even remember ever sending it to her. So maybe somebody gifted it to her. Maybe she bought it. It's amazing how many celebrities we found out, like, we did not send it to them.
Right.
We don't know how they got it, and then they're using it, especially during the pandemic, watching, Halle Berry and Cameron Diaz and Courtney Cox, and they're all doing their own cooking shows because they're bored at home, and they're all using our products. And we're looking like, do we down the list? Do we ship it to them? But the thing with Hailey, just to go back, that's a good thing, and it's not like it's something that's dead. I think it's something that's going to like ebb and flow with that relationship. And members of her team we get along with great with. So depending on what she's doing, I mean, now she's having a baby, and that's taking care of that's obviously priority one.
I mean, we really think that Hailey can be this transcending brand too. Mm-hmm. And so it's nice that we're together on that. As she's having a child and as becomes more of a family oriented, it's going to be interesting to watch the evolution of Hailey Beiber, and we know that she loves cooking with Hexclad, so I think we'll definitely be a part of it.
Yeah, it's also interesting, like there's very few brands that act as a social signal on Instagram or TikTok to other people to say, hey, I am cool enough, I have this brand. Like Jolie is one of those. People love posting their Jolie as a signal to other people of, look at me, I take care of my hair and my skin by using a Jolie shower, and I post it and tag it. And Hexclad definitely comes off as one of those brands too. One of the other interesting things that Hexclad does, I think you guys do a really good job like wrapping the world, as I call it, with brand awareness. And one of the ways you do that is with the Fox deal that you guys have. So it's no secret that Hexclad and Fox are very tied in together, especially now with the recent news of the $1 billion valuation and Fox's investment. But how did you guys get Fox's interest to, like, as any brand, even of a $100 million, $500 million size, I think it's always like very aspirational to try to do a deal like that with one of the biggest networks or production companies in the world. So like, how did that happen?
Well, I'll touch briefly because, really when it got down to negotiating and how are we going to make this work, Jason and Niles, and Niles is our chief operating officer, and they're both former bankers, which is great because it is the complete opposite of my skill set. So like we, in a way I go, oh, we make a whole human being now when we're together. But a couple things. One, Gordon brought us into the Fox family, so to speak, when he started incorporating us into his shows. That was something we liked, not only from the exposure, but Jason and I usually we start thinking about what next year looks like. And usually it's, us like eating a bowl of pasta at Factory Kitchen, maybe having a glass of wine. And what are the couple of goals that we want to accomplish? And really, it was like 2.5 years ago, we were like, we we consider ourselves a lifestyle brand. In the kitchen, that is the biggest part of your lifestyle. The cooking that you do, like we already said, the celebration you spend with people that you love. Nothing's more of a lifestyle. But also, we felt content was so important to us in that. So we really started looking at ourselves as not only a kitchenware company, but as a content company. And content was becoming a bigger part of our strategy moving forward. So as we started doing that, getting incorporated into more of Gordon's shows, we started, playing around with different types of content we did ourselves. We voiced this to the company. We voiced it to Gordon. We voiced it to Michael Thomas, Gordon's business manager. And I think we never raised money. We're completely bootstrapped, which was great. We weren't necessarily we didn't need money. We didn't do a deal because we're strapped to grow the business. So this was a great synergistic opportunity. We kind of felt, we want to be doing more in content. Gordon works with one of the biggest content companies in the world. And also, Gordon has Studio Ramsay Global. And essentially, this is a partnership between Fox, Studio Ramsay Global, and Hexclad. So why build everything on our own when we can bring this incredibly talented company into the fold to achieve our goal? So that got the conversation started. And then it took a long time to make this work, to figure out what it was. I mean, Jason and Niles worked their asses off for an entire year on this. But I'll let you talk about the trials and tribulations of it. But
well, what's really interesting about this deal, it's sort of like any deal with a strategic party that I think is, transcends just this deal. People are always who love so-and-so should buy my company. I remember when I was a banker, I was an investment banker for 12, 13 years. I was an M&A lawyer. And I would help sell kind of small, mid-sized companies, typically to larger strategic buyers or to private equity firms. And I did a lot of stuff in tech. And they all thought that Facebook or Google or Oracle should buy them. And I'm like, guys, no, it's not going to happen. Either you're way too small but fundamentally, you have to solve a problem for them. It's the only way a strategic buyer is going to be interested. And by the way, it's going to take a while too, because these guys they're not like a private equity firm who are just trying to do deals, right? It has to be right. And so all that experience in the deal business, it's so funny how it all played out with this transaction, because Danny said a year. Yeah, the actual real work was probably 10 months, but then there were 6 to 8 months before that where it's just warming them up to the idea. And it wasn't like they were so strategic that they were oh, we really want to invest in a product company. It was they saw how successful we were being. They saw how we were integrated on the shows. And they're this actually is a new strategic initiative for us inside of Fox to get more involved with consumer brand. And it was this over a period of time, the idea kind of came from us, hey, we should do something together. But then, all the way up to Lachlan Murdoch and Rob Wade, the CEO of Fox Entertainment, they're so all in on it because they realize that partnering with Hexclad helps them think about how do they solve their long-term problems in the media industry, where it's just becoming different, with
their revenue streams.
What is the business model for a lot of these guys with streaming and everything else? And it was okay, well, Hexclad, this could be our first foray into partnering with a real company that sells real products. And by the way, our network, cooking is one of the 3 linchpins. Their linchpins are cooking / Gordon, sports, and news, right? Yeah. So it's we do really well in sports. We don't care about the news side all that much, but we do really well with sports. We've done a lot of TV spots with sports, and they've done well for us, thankfully.
And even with the Yankees having Hexclad.
Yeah, and then we did and so we like that, but fundamentally to do a deal with the strategic it has to solve a problem for them. And a lot of sellers or people like that have been in our shoes in the past, they're always thinking about how great it would be if someone like Fox brought their resources to bear to help their company. But like big companies like Fox or big tech companies, like they already have a lot of product and not a lot of shelf space.
Yeah, it almost seems like the way like most brands think about it is, okay, if I have this tiny little thing that's doing well and I can plug into the distribution of a much larger company, then overnight a lot of my costs should go away because they already have the fulfillment network or whatever it is. And, I should get a lot more eyeballs. But the way you guys are thinking about it is like two very unique puzzle pieces fitting together.
Right, because your argument is that's like the very easy one.
Right. Oh, if we can just plug it into this distribution and blah, blah, blah. But I go back to my comment about a lot of product and not a lot of shelf space. Sure, for a tech company, there may be something that makes completely sense to tuck it in. But I think people really like underestimate the requirement that you as the seller or you as the strategic, wanting to get a strategic investment, like you need to solve a problem for that party on the other side of the table. Otherwise, it's just not that interesting to them.
Are there other impacts that Fox has had on your business? Like, do you get better payment terms with certain people? Do you get better access to talent? Do you get better, like, what are some of the other
it's really so new. I mean, we just announced this, and obviously it's been done for a little bit of time, but we just had to figure some stuff out, before going public with it. So it is new, but I would say that Fox is being very, very enthusiastic about opening various opportunistic doors to us, across their platforms and programming. This was the thing that I think is key and I think Jason, I'll speak for him and tell me if you disagree. I think we're very confident in the belief that their goal is for this to work and that they're going to be flexible. They're going to look at it with a very critical eye as to where are we seeing value, where are we not seeing value, being able to pivot on that, because this is a very unique relationship. I don't know of another one like this where an entertainment company is buying into a product such as this. So we're going to do things wrong. And that was something, really the final thing, like we were going back and forth. And there's a lot of, we'd all like to think, it's like winning the lottery. It's like you just win on one side, but you never just win on one side, right? There's pain, it's got to hurt a little bit to both parties. They're going to overpay. We're going to say they underpaid.
Right.
But in January, where maybe I was being a bit stubborn about stuff like I want in the contract, and there's stuff that they're like, we can't put it in the contract. And, and I flew to London to meet with Gordon and Michael Thomas, Gordon's business manager, and, and Rob Wade, the CEO of Fox. He got on, he goes, look, there's things I can put in a contract and things I can't put in a contract. But let me look you in the eye and say, I am committed to making this work. If this isn't working, he goes, we're going to pivot and try something else. He goes, because I'm taking a risk. He's like, I'm putting my head on the chopping block for this. And it was really good to hear that because it resonated, because I'm like, I got to sign something where I would love to know that was in writing, but I got to have faith in you. And since we had that meeting in the winter, I think Fox has proven with their actions and their words that they're going to do what it takes to make this partnership be as successful as it possibly can be.
I think we're also lucky almost that we're the first one like this that they've done.
Totally.
So they're going to be...
There's like two ways it could go, right? It could get totally botched, or they could work really hard to make it successful. And I think they've done that. They've really marshaled the resources. But going back to your sort of the original question of what does it do for us, we should stress that we don't think of Hexclad as a cookware company, right? Like Danny said, we think of ourselves as a lifestyle brand, as a best-in-class consumer brand. Like you talked about people on social media and it's like there's like a validation that they're using Hexclad. You know, it's fun. There's one woman who was a contestant on one of Gordon's shows, and you know, all the contestants get Hexclad and fall in love with the product. It's really nice to see, and they're all like always reaching out to us, and we get to know a lot of these people. They're good, great people. But she was like, "Oh, I'm cooking in my Hexclad wok, you know, because it's a flex." So to hear stuff like that, and it's funny. Like last summer when we were in the throes of this thing, you know, we already had the idea and we were already getting close to doing it. But like the all-in pod, which a lot of us love. They were talking about, you know, consumer brands having to become content companies. And we'd been thinking about that for a while already. So it was nice to get the validation from them. But
yeah, it's also interesting, though, like their approach to that was get a celebrity on board, and that is the only way out. But you guys are basically the proof that it can be done the opposite way.
Yeah, for sure.
Like and build content around.
Yeah. Innovation. And this overall, like this overarching mission of ours, and like whenever we make decisions about the company, whether it's our product mix, SKU mix, what are we going to do, it's like, how does this reflect on us as a lifestyle brand? And a lot of people, you know, would like to look at Yeti because they've got a very specific lifestyle brand, and I think a more narrow category than we are. The kitchen is huge, and you know, Danny talked about it a little bit. He didn't hit the full five senses Danny bit that I actually love so much, like about cooking appealing to all five senses, but really it transcends just, oh, here is the frying pan, or here is the pepper mill, or here are the knives. It's about these experiences, these life experiences in the kitchen, and think, you know, Fox believes that strategy. Otherwise they wouldn't do it. And then whatever happens with Hexclad, whether we're an IPO or something else, that's really important for the long-term sustainability of our business. I think there's like probably another 18 million households out there in the U.S. that we can sell frying pans to. So we got plenty of runway, but still that overarching, and then that really opens up all kinds of new categories. Like we could be a media company too if we wanted to, based on all this. So it gives us optionality, but fundamentally that, you know, the Fox deal, I think it reinforces or it proves out our long-term vision for really being more than just a cookware company, for being a true lifestyle brand that make people want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And that's really why also some of the partnerships that we have sought out, like when we started these conversations with the Yankees, you know, they never had an official cookware.
Right.
And they loved the idea, like when it started. Obviously in business, you love the easy stuff's the stuff you can quantify, right? That type of data is the best because I can look, I did this, it resulted in that. The best thing is your revenue, right?
Right.
So that, you know, but I love the eyeballs, right? So the Yankees give us eyeballs. Gordon gives us eyeballs. Fox gives us eyeballs. When we get these enthusiastic influencers that are partnering with us, they give us more eyeballs. And eyeballs to me represent more than just potential revenue. They represent opportunity. And it's up to Jason and I to figure out what that opportunity is at a different time.
Yeah.
You know, you need it eventually to translate into revenue in some way. But there's just a ton of different opportunities those eyeballs provide. So that's everything we do. Ultimately, every decision we make is to generate success in one of those two streams, right? Eyeballs or revenue.
Totally. All right. That's all the time we've got for today, but thank you
Damn
guys
you,
for
Nick.
coming
That's
on.
it?
We got to do a part 2. I feel like I only got through half the
Like
stuff.
this is a 5-part series.
Yeah, I think this is a 5-part.
Listen, anytime you want to shag your ass down to DTLA,
I'll be
we'll
here.
meet you here. No
We'll
problem.
come out here more. Thank you guys.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
This was awesome.